on a beautiful Thursday.
Ooh. Oh, and it just ended too. Nice. I can fade it out. Oh, we're at a good level. We're at a good level now, boys. Welcome.
Excellent.
Welcome back, everybody.
Northside Plug.
Northside Plug. Justice on your left. Boss Dan on
What's up,
your
everybody?
right. And then, hold on, boys. I'm messing up already.
Whoa. Yo.
Transition. G-Money.
Transition.
And
What
Dan
up?
behind the...
There it
Behind
is.
What's
mic.
poppin'? We over here on Northside Plug. Back after a 2-week hiatus.
2 weeks, yeah.
Apologize for not being here, but we are back.
We don't need to apologize.
Better
in this
than
day and age,
ever.
boys. Everybody's doing them right now.
To our real fans, though, who expected us to be on, we apologize.
And we appreciate you sticking with us.
100%. Make sure that you listen to us on www.q4.org, TuneIn app, iTunes Radio, or if you want to hit that radio dial, AM 1680. And make sure you call that caller line, 312-985-7834. One more time, that's 312-985-7834. And we are streaming.
Get involved, people. Get
On
involved with
YouTube.
our conversations.
We are streaming
Spice
right
it
now.
up. We can't have the guests that we're normally accustomed to, so we like any other feedback or just anything, folks. Reach out to us and
Reach out to the
give yourself a good opportunity to I don't know, have your voice heard and join in on the conversation.
100%,
Chime in.
100%. And we very much hope to be able to bring guests in again, but at the same time, safety is the key. As I
We gotta lock in on like Skype, like for real Skype calls, like planned Skype calls.
Mhm.
And I'm not to say that we wouldn't, we don't encourage random callers to just call in. We're still at that point, but it'd be nice to get some sort of like Skype interview going on, because then it's like from the comfort of their own home. You know what I mean? They don't have to actually come to for all the people who didn't end up coming through. How much easier would have been just like hit them up from their living room and get their feedback that way.
Yeah, I think now with the past pandemic, I think everyone's realized how easy everything is how easily everything can be done from your own living room.
Yeah.
That's why I've heard a lot of people say that like snow days are a thing of the past. Like snow days might not be a thing ever again. Because think about it, like how many months or how many weeks during the year did kids try to learn from home? And that's not going to be an excuse anymore of that, like, oh, you can't get to the
They have
school, then
protocol
there's no
for it now.
Exactly, they have protocol for online learning. At every school system had made protocol for online learning. So it's just crazy how now interviews, television broadcasts, like like sports broadcasters are broadcasting from their living rooms or their offices.
Whole ass commercials.
NBC is making their own is making a TV show based off people stuck in quarantine as well. Like this, we're living in a history lesson right now. Like how you learn about the different moments in history in U.S. history when you take APUSH.
Yeah.
This is one of those moments that
APUSH. Oh
that
lordy,
it's
going to
change a lot. It's going to change a lot of things for the future. And I think more and more each day we kind of just see how much our world is changing from this pandemic.
Yeah.
And it's just been crazy. I don't know. That just what made me think of it when you said that about how we can interview people from their living rooms.
No, I agree, man.
There are advantages, you know what I mean? Like, for all the workarounds, everybody's like used to what they should expect in terms of like restrictions and what they're limited to, and us humans who are resourceful people. And I don't know, for the most part, like, other than like literal working a 9 to 5 being affected, my ability to communicate with people has just been like has just evolved, I guess.
What do you mean by that? What do you mean by evolved?
Well, I didn't utilize all of the mediums at my disposal in order to reach people or to have regular communication. It would either be limited to like text or phone call. Like that's our traditional, you know what I mean? Like, your grandparents, they're used to the phone call and they don't understand text, you know what I mean? Like, like some of my family members only have relationships through text, and like that's one form of communication. But the modern age, like in the face of a a global pandemic, like you have to be a little bit more crafty with we can't have people in here. We need to, and it's honestly more convenient for them to be able to do an interview this way.
Yeah.
So once we normalize that, it'll probably end up just being a normal thing. We're like, once we have the ability to have people, and we will, but just like maybe a 3-parted conversation. You know what I mean? They'll do it on sports talk all the time. They'll have like a guest come in, and like Vince Carter will like before he was like an official newscast or a sportscaster. He'll have like a guest in, and then like phone in someone else and have like a 3-parted conversation.
Yeah, I get what you're saying. Yeah, because and it just makes. I think we've just realized how much easier it is to communicate and do a lot of things that we thought we needed to do outside. But I think technology was so far advanced that we never realized. And so once we kind of were all stuck in this position, being at home, and people realized that what they needed to go drive 45 an hour away to do is easily done within their family. Now, sure, it's not as easy because it's probably more equipment, and it's probably hard to sell. That work-life balance is probably much harder to kind of keep balanced when you're working in the same place that you're sleeping in. I know for some people, like for me personally, being stuck in my apartment all the time has made me, I think, less productive, just because I kind of try to work and watch TV in the same spot, because there's no real room for a desk in my apartment. I've been trying to do that, but I don't know, it just hasn't been the right time. But I'm trying to kind of get that so I have some separation of
figuring out how to cushion that sense of comfortability with your sense of, I need to accomplish this or that, just as general sense of responsibility. It's an adulting thing. We're not done learning how to do it, and I'm speaking as someone who does the exact same thing. Like I'll segment the work that I'm supposed to be doing with, convenient ways to ease me into that next segment of work. I literally, and I've talked about this ad nauseum before about how I used to do cleaning and maintenance for the Google buildings in the Loop, and the way that they segment their days is they'll have a meeting every other hour, and in that meeting they will micromanage everything that they're going to do in the following hour. So in half of that time, in the first 30 minutes of that, they'll crank out all the work that they've designated to do within that hour, and then they'll all get up on like League of Legends and just go ham on kids. And it's it's a way for them to do their most effective work. If that's what a whole floor of coders at Google needs to do in order to do what they do regularly, then I find that interesting, and I feel a lot of people can benefit from developing their own workflow. That's for any sort of work, just developing a workflow that works for you. And if there's no workflow that works for you, then you're in the wrong industry.
Yeah, I guess for me, I don't know why, but I feel like when, like for them, they're doing that in their office though. Like when you did that, you saw it in their, and like for me, that might be easier for other people, and like maybe not, but like for me, I need some sort of like, not authority, maybe like supervisor or someone just being like, hey, like, what are you doing?
Yeah.
Like, what are you up to? Just to kind of keep me in check, just to be like, oh, okay. I feel like I'm not, sometimes I'm super self-sufficient, but then it depends on what I'm working on, and then how I kind of escalate or how I kind of move forward with my day, depending on who else is working around me or what's everyone else doing, and kind of, so like for me, I don't know.
It's telling. At the very least, I like to look at the example of, and I'm going to segue into presidential debates and stuff. I look at the habits of the leader of our free world, and like how every day for him probably is like he doesn't have 100% in the planning and how his days go. So a hyper regimented person who's running our country yet seemingly comes up as incompetent, man. You know what I mean? When it comes down to communication, people, there's still an insurmountable amount of people who haven't figured it out, like the art of communication and rapport. And it seems like that's just a baseline in order to succeed, really, in any fashion. The ability to communicate effectively, and I don't know. I guess like I'm coming from a place of like non-combative or competitive talk. I guess like I should have more debates with people who have directly opposing viewpoints, and see if I can have a productive conversation. Like that being the goal. You know what I mean? Like having someone like Ben Shapiro come down and talk about like basically everything that I don't believe in. I feel like, two constructive people in dialogue. I don't know. I feel like that's a conversation that could be well had. Just because like two parties are understand like what good dialogue is, how to segue into like, okay, well, we can agree to disagree, but at least we address both viewing viewpoints and can't really come to a general consensus. That being said, it was so hard for me to watch the first presidential debate that I really didn't tune into the vice presidential debate. I heard the fly thing and that was it.
Yeah, so we'll transition to that because we missed both. The presidential debate was last week, and then the vice presidential debate was yesterday.
Yeah.
I had softball, so I had to leave early. I only watched the first 30 minutes of the presidential debate, but that's all I really needed to watch.
Right.
And I didn't even bother watching yesterday because I feel like it's, for me personally, and I know over the past couple months I've been saying this, that I want to become more active and more politically aware and just more knowledgeable on the subjects that these people are talking about and kind of the background and the knowledge behind everything. But for me, at least in the past years, in our lifetimes, I feel like most of these debates have been made for those like people who are on the fence, can't really decide between the two candidates. Where I feel like for this election, I feel like you went into this viewing this debate. I feel like there were not many people on the fence. I feel like you were already on one side or the other in which way you were going to vote. So for me to watch the first 30 minutes and just watch the crap shoot that it was, I just was like, yeah, I don't really need to know these guys' stances on certain things because I already know what direction I want to go in. And they can, unless they say something outlandish that gets reposted on Twitter or something the next day, then I'll see it. But
there was just really no opportunity for there to be an actual, I'm going to keep returning to the word dialogue, but there was no dialogue. And the way in which they hyped it up, man, it was like a sporting event, the way that they were talking about this side's going to talk about this point and this point. I thought that there was going to be actual rhetoric to what was going down, I'm gonna defend this point, and no, it was just the reason I'm bringing up this point is I feel like a lot of Americans are in the exact same boat as you. We watched maybe 15, 20, 30 minutes, maybe the whole thing if we're really looking to just soak all of it up. But
I watched both.
And that's good. I feel like a lot of people watched a little bit of the first and didn't watch any of the second just because we were looking for something in the first one that we didn't get and we knew wouldn't get tided over by really any I really don't think there's anything that's going to be said on either side that is going to be conclusive. You know what I mean? This is hard to fight against. It was just a back and forth, really. It was a back and forth. I can't really jive for either side.
They just kept interrupting each other, and whoever the moderator was not handling it well because he just couldn't. He couldn't speak over either of them.
You thought
Chris Wallace did a great. The reason why Chris Wallace got that opportunity is because of his critical questioning of that. What was it he did a really good interview with Trump.
Yeah,
and it was one of the only ones where it really kind of showed his vulnerability. And I feel like we all knew exactly how it was going to go down, but Biden didn't do enough to not let him just wash it all out with interruptions, and he couldn't let either of them have that ability to have a conversation. It was more how does my answer hold up against the expectations of what I'm supposed to say, and it was. I can only imagine what that actually might be like, being on the prime stage of every American looking at you and looking for the answer to the American problem. But it just goes to show how much we need to look inwards at ourselves. This is we're clearly not getting the solution from either of these gentlemen, no matter who wins.
Absolutely.
And I feel coming full circle, you shouldn't feel too negatively or neurotically about not being able to find the perfect rhythm for you. And I'm talking to you and in general, because I mean, what more can you really? I don't want to like leave it at what more can you expect from yourself, but like we all kind of know that like we have a higher standard for our social norms and our I don't know, our standards of well-being for community. We have the best in mind for ourselves rather than those who represent us. I'm gonna leave it at that. I'm gonna stop there.
No, I hear you. And going back to like the moderators and stuff, bro. Like the moderator yesterday was just.
Who was it, by the way?
I don't know her name.
Right.
I don't know her name.
No, yeah, exactly, right? Like
Susan something, and she just had no control of it. You know, Mike Pence was just running amok at however he wanted to, and I think overall. Yesterday was a lot, in terms of debate-wise, if we want to say, was a lot better than the presidential debate, you know. But, I mean, you know, you still have, you know, with the vice president pretty much saying what the presidents are saying, just in different ways. You know. And
that was on my script. I can answer this.
Exactly, you know, and I just think I think on both sides, it's just weird, vibes, you know. But at the end of the day, I think it's important to like tune into that and see where these people's heads are at, you know, because it's a very like small window opportunity per se, you know, because then you have Trump over here, you know, obviously has coronavirus. He didn't have coronavirus last time we were here.
It wasn't reported that he had coronavirus.
It wasn't reported that he had coronavirus last time that we were here. You know, so it's just, you never know. You know, you never know. So at the end of the day, any opportunity to hear any words come out of these people's mouths, I'll take the opportunity just to get some sort of read on it, you know, so.
I agree with you there. I feel like it was a missed. I mean, I said I was going to watch these things, and then I end up not, because then I watched the presidential debate, and I remembered why I don't watch these things. But I agree with you that it is very important just to hear them say, like, what their campaign truly is about, like what they're truly standing for, and like when it comes to certain issues, like what's their stance. But like for the president,
they can't really even talk about their individual stances. They like Joe Biden represents the whole Democratic Party, and so like he can't even really talk like Joe Biden. Like I can understand on both sides. Like I can understand Trump speaking as generally as he can. I can understand Biden speaking as generally as he can. And honestly, I kind of leave like the specifics to the vice president. You know what I mean? Like it's those small things. Like okay, like you can look at Obama's whole era and like look at everything he did, but like you can also look. There's a whole lot of hell that Michelle did. There's a whole lot that I don't really know what Biden did, but I know that he was super active in the whole thing. It's just like I don't see Mike Pence until he crawls out for like assigned duty.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like I don't know. And you hear about the frustrations that Melania has with not being able to do that she wants to do to make the type of impact that like Michelle made. Like you can have that sentiment, but like I don't know, man. I don't know. It's the whole thing has to be, by all American people, has to be taken with a grain of salt, and it's tough. You know what I mean? It's like, you know, LeBron possibly getting his 4th chip today, but he has to take that whole thing with a grain of salt. You know what I mean? Like how if he goes and gets a 5th or a 6th chip, like how tarnishing will the whole circumstance be against his legacy? You know what I mean? It affects everybody, and I don't blame anybody for thinking selfishly and acting selfishly and thinking about in their own personal interest. I guess I was trying to look for a segue into the NBA, but
I just wanted to say, like, do you want to say something about the debates? I just think one last thing about the debates is we need to talk about the leader of the free world getting the coronavirus. I think that was something that literally it was last Thursday, because we didn't come because I wasn't like we all weren't feeling well or whatever was going on. I went to bed early that night, and the news broke that night, and I remember waking up and Twitter was just on fire, and I was like, what happened? What did I miss? And then that's what broke the news, and like the way that this handled, I think it just shows how poorly he has handled, like how he handled it for himself, is just showed how poorly we as a nation have handled this whole situation together.
I agree.
Because it just we all saw what happened. Like he was in and out of the hospital in 3 days, which it's in your system for at least 14, so that's clearly not possible. They gave him a bunch of experimental steroids, experimental cocktails, I guess they call them, with like all different kinds of drugs. And the weirdest thing, this is what really ticks me off. I need to get this out. Did you guys saw the car ride he did, right, outside to his supporters? Apparently that was a compromise that the nursing staff made, because he wanted to leave that day, but the nursing staff was like, no, you need to stay for at least another day.
Yeah.
So for a compromise, they compromised with a 74-year-old man, a cranky, whiny 74-year-old, like he's a 6-year-old, that he could go outside and do a lap in his car while he's infected with a deadly disease, and bring 2 Secret Service members with him in his car, just so he could wave out to his little cult followers and say, hey, I'm still alive. Look at me. I'm so great, aren't I? Unbelievable.
Imagine being that Secret Service person.
Imagine being that Secret Service man. Like, sir, you're literally just driving around outside for like 5 seconds. Do we really need to do this? They need to see what I'm about. Another thing I noticed, he always talks with his hands like this. How is that comfortable? Like, he's always like.
It's the motion he makes to any peasant.
People.
Get away from me.
Like that hurts my wrists. Like, like
Secret Service.
Like, no, he's like this. Secret Service is very important to me, and like it's just unbelievable, man.
Yeah.
Like usually and he was, there was a quote today that he was like, senior citizens are usually not called vulnerable. Like, we're never called the vulnerable group of people, but we're vulnerable to this. And it's just like, what are you saying, dude? Like,
it's easy to
it's
miss. It's
unbelievable.
like the ultimate irony. Like, it literally is the ultimate irony, and amidst everything else that we're just trained to like roll our eyes at and like wait for the next big thing. Like, it's the ultimate irony, man. Like, any defense that he could have had on his handling of the situation just kind of goes out the door. Like, you know, like.
Yeah.
And it's just crazy because at the end of the day, like, all of this is going on, and then it's like it's the topic of conversation. You go on pretty much any news
Anywhere.
thing, and then that's it. And then you know what was it yesterday? Yeah, it was literally yesterday. George Floyd's, the main guy, is now out free, paid his bond or his bail, excuse me. So on the same day that when Kamala Harris was talking about Breonna Taylor, Mike Pence was like, oh, justice will be served. Justice will be served. And obviously justice is not served for anybody. So, you know, we can all debate and talk this, that, and whatever. And, you know, we'll be talking about it for the next 2 weeks, and it'll be a part of history, this, that, whatever. But at the end of the day, the facts are all out here, you know, in the ways that we're all living as, you know, individuals and in our communities and within this country and in the world, you know?
Mm-hmm.
Like, that's the truth at the end of the day, not what we see. I mean, to a certain extent, you know, what you see in the news and this, that, whatever. But at the end of the day, you have to believe your truth and what you know, intake your information very carefully, you know?
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, man, because, I mean, at the end of the day, you know, I feel like somebody that watches both debates, whatever, you know, and doesn't really know much, they're going to just sit there and be like, not understanding what the substance of much of it is, but more so in how the people are explaining it, right?
Mm-hmm.
And this is people that, like, I don't know, whether they may be a lower intellect or they just aren't well versed in politics, different things, you know, or just aren't like exposed to a lot of people in a small community of, you know, all these different things. Where at the end of the day, it's like it's just politics are so hard, and now more than ever, you know, because I mean, you know, you have the church mixed in with politics and everything, and that doesn't help at all. That makes things even more complicated.
Right.
It's just for now. It's kind of just for now, though. Like, you have a lot of the most influential people on the other side, really, really old, man.
Mm-hmm.
I blessed be all their souls, you know what I mean? But there's gonna be a huge shift in power and money in just like global viewpoint in like the next 20 years, if not
I agree.
sooner. You know, like the people who have been like looking around like for people to take care of the situation are going to be the ones who are old enough and in the position to take care of the situation in the way that the majority is envisioning the course of this country.
Yeah.
And I don't know, like again, like the whole thing is taken with a grain of salt. Like even if Mans wins again, you know, like I don't know, like I right now, like I'm kind of tuning out and like really getting a lot of satisfaction in learning how to do me, man. And like if like 4 more years of that dude is what it takes to like finally wiggle myself into my own little mental pocket or zone where I can do that unhindered and uncompromised, I'll be the most capable that I will be when it does mean the most. You know what I mean? Like Biden for 4 years, cool, great. It ain't gonna solve anything. It's just gonna stop all the daily BS. You know what I mean? Like Democrats are really good at covering stuff up. Really good at pushing stuff under the rug, and like I'm not gonna pay attention to all the stuff that they're covering up. So, but at the end of the 4 years, if there's a switch, if it goes Republican again, I don't know. If there's just like an overwhelming, just negative force that like it's like an arc in like an anime, man. There's always a new evil, you know, what's it antagonist. There's always gonna be a mantle, and the people who probably exude that negativity the worst aren't even at the top of that mantle. They're behind it or below it, just like pushing that top mantle up to distract us. And so I'm just gonna the next half decade, man, I don't know, just tune out and being as active as I can to make sure that the community that I can affect grows as healthy as it can. But for the most part, bro, I ain't messing with nobody that I don't have to or don't want to.
Yeah.
I don't know, it seems a little negative, but I don't know, I just feel like that's the most healthy for me. I feel like a lot of people would agree.
Well, I feel you. I think at the end of the day, and there's only so much an individual can do, and you only have 24 hours in a day. So, and at the end of the day, like you wake up with yourself and you go to sleep with yourself, right? So it's like that's the bottom line, the bottom basis of life in general is like all you can do really is just take care of like, what you can take care of in front of you and around you, and that it's just like for everybody, it's like the ripple goes farther or is bigger than, or smaller than, it's just all perspective. And so I hear you, and I feel like that's the thing, bro, is that if we had more people with the mindset of like, okay, I'm going to wake up, I'm going to better myself so that I can better my community, then we would be moving in a better direction at a faster exponential pace. But the problem is that through so many different multitudes of factors, at the end of the day, the bottom line of pretty much all problems, is poverty, insecurities, just lack of opportunity, racism,
lack of awareness.
Lack of awareness. It's just all these different factors that, maybe, one person doesn't go through, well, another person goes through, so it's at the end of the day, it's important for everybody to be aware that, okay, this is what I got going on in my life, and I'm gonna make sure that the best of it is going on. But at the same time, we have to, I don't know, like I feel like there needs to be a way that I don't think wait, let me finish. Whether it's already implemented or it needs to be implemented, just I don't know, an opportunity of like, I don't know. What I'm trying to say is I think that there's too much of a norm where we're all feeling kind of like isolated out here, bro, and I think that it's getting excused too much, and it bothers me, to be honest. I think we live in communities and we live in society where people are intimidated, especially now in a global pandemic, or just like I I feel like there's so many people right now that are feeling like closed in and boxed in, right? You know, and we're blessed to have an opportunity to be able to express ourselves in many different opportunities in different mediums and stuff, you know? But I think there's a lot of people out there that, whether they haven't found it in themselves or they haven't found the resources and opportunities on the exterior, that are feeling very like shuttered in and don't have that drive that we may have in terms of like, okay, I'm gonna go out and I'm gonna go seek like whatever I gotta do. Like, people don't have that insight of like, okay, I'm gonna wake up and figure it out. They're just like, okay, I'm gonna hit the liquor store, I'm gonna go give me a square, I'm gonna go give me a 40, I'm gonna go finesse me some money so I can, you know, give me some bread to eat. You know, it's just like, it's different mentalities, and at the end of the day, it's like, it's all so big where it's like, okay, we see these and obviously we don't have the resources to be able to help everybody around us, right? Or anybody that we want. But it's like, I think just the factor of like more people being aware of that and acknowledging those problems in their communities extends like more initiative to want to go out and like want to help those people in those moments of like, okay, nobody's watching, but I'm gonna do my part, you know? So I think that at the end of the day leads back to what you were saying. You know, you got to better yourself. Every single person has to better themselves, better knowledge themselves, and equip themselves in the world that we are, and especially the world that, you know, we're literally in a global shift right now. Like, generations are shifting. So I don't know, man. That's my little spiel.
Yeah, and I think kind of relating to what both of you guys are saying, like the generational shift and like the older politicians that are there. I think once it shifts towards our generation, and I think everyone has realized this with this election and kind of everything that's happened over the past few months, is that when our generation starts getting into positions of power in the United States government, then you're going to start seeing some serious, significant change in all different aspects, no matter what it is. I think that we've seen it, that like, as much power as we have, there's only so much we can do when we're not of the age or power yet to, or the just the relevance to kind of run for positions of political power. But I think that there's been so much activism and so much more awareness and like just a better understanding of how the world works now for people of our generation and whatever we are, millennials or Gen Z or whatever.
We're millennials.
Whatever we are, millennials. I think once millennials start getting into those positions of power, then we will start to see some significant change for the better for our country.
I like to look at the last 4 years, right? Specifically, like the last 2 years, like what we've literally done under the blanket of like basically what we've already been living under for the past 4 years. And I feel like the big MO at the beginning was like, we want people to understand that they can tune in. You know, I like what our movement, like as like a hypothetical, as a theoretical like collective, it functions like our thesis of what this is functions a lot like a literal radio station. And our initial push was like, we wanted them to tune in to that they have the ability to tune in to things that they care about, the ability to mentally connect with something that empowers you or makes you feel something, whether that's understanding more about the world, whether that's finding a creative outlet, whether that's, you know, understanding more about why you are the way you are, just knowing more about yourself. I feel like this, what's it's kind of feeding into is realizing that people have control over the dial. You know what I mean? Like you don't have to just tune into one thing. You have the control to exist in one place and go to the other, or consciously stay away from other frequencies. You know what I mean? You know, we're a certain channel that has a certain point of view, and that's important to get to understand what the people of our community is saying. Listening to people like us, just us being students in general, it's an important thing for people to know and strive for, no matter what you actually believe, to just tune in general. I feel like more people need to understand that they're in control of what they tune into, instead of like being reacting to everything that's put in front of our
Yeah.
face. We don't have to feed into it. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? We can take a step back, look at it, and see about how we feel about it from, you know what I mean? There's
Yeah.
other ways to navigate it. And I feel like we've been a part of, I don't know, establishing that mindset as like in general conversation. It's
Yeah.
kind of like what we lean towards, whether we have a guest or not, is
Yeah.
like, you know, getting in tune mentally and like finding out what you dig. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And then using that to just better the world that way,
Yeah.
and as generally as it can. And it's hard grasping what seems to be like just a destructive existence,
Yeah.
you know. But I feel like with what you said, G Money, we have been over the past couple years, even though we can always do better, there's been a lot of like where we're at right now, that has to do with us actually building that what I just talked about over the
Yeah.
past couple of years.
Yeah.
And I feel like that's going to evolve and adapt in the way that we push people to think. And yeah.
Yeah. I mean, at the end of the day, bro, like this all really just started from us just being ourselves, man. Like
Yeah.
literally, I was thinking earlier, man. Like everything that I do now, what is it, 2020?
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
10 years ago, I was not thinking I would be doing anything that I'm doing now. So I was like,
Yeah.
damn, I feel like, personally, I just feel super blessed to be doing this stuff, you
Mhm.
know? But at the same time, like, this isn't anything to take for granted, you know? And I feel like people, like, to this point, like, some people will look at this and be like, oh, it's just, you know, it's just another Thursday and it's Northside Plug, you know? Just see it as they're scrolling down. That's cool, you know? I'm not expecting anything from anyone, but I'm just saying, like, to those people, you know, it's like, understand that, you know, this is something that, like, literally we built from the ground up, you know? Like, we had to, like, put ourselves in the positions to get into, you know, different opportunities, you know? And that's not just Northside Plug, but there's everything
Yeah.
that's, like, within, I mean, I think just in between from the now and the time that we all met, you know? Like, so
Yeah.
much positively has changed, you know, at least within our lives, you know, like in terms of what we're doing from when we first met and until now, you know.
Yeah.
And nothing came, none of this was easy, you know, none of this, I mean, it kind of was handed, but not like just like, here you go type thing, you know, like,
But it's because of the mindset.
the,
You know
the
what I mean?
mindset and the work had to be put and implemented and established for the outside world to see exactly what Justin said, and, you know, at the end of the day, what we're on, you know. And
It's a lot like meditate. I listened to Rick Rubin talk about how meditation has helped him, and he doesn't feel like the meditation in itself is what helped him succeed. It's understanding that to actually have, whether you feel better after meditation or not, having done the meditation is the success.
yeah,
And you can attribute that with doing anything in life, like not necessarily wanting or feeling a need to do it, but just the habit of doing it is the success in itself. It's the
Yeah.
same way with this, whether we have one person listening right now or, you know, have pick up some real momentum. Like the true success is being able to continue to do this every day or every Thursday, you know.
Exactly. And it's like, why, if we have the opportunity, why not, you know? And there's days where it's just like, you know, and not just this, just in general, where it's just like, just feel lazy, or you don't want to do something, or you're just not feeling good, whatever, you know. But at the end of the day, the key is the consistency. And I was talking with Suburb, you know, it's like, we were the other day, remember, I think we were talking about it. Oh no, I don't know if you're there. Regardless, 90% of like success is showing up. You feel me? But I feel like 100% of success is showing up. To be honest, like, I think any opportunity that you're able to pull up somewhere that will help expand your mind or expand something within your life, you're not going back from that. You're only gaining. You know, you're only, another thing that he said, like, if what's it called? you can't go broke if you're profiting, you know? So it's like this. It's like we're blessed to have this opportunity, you know, as long as we keep going and we keep building and we keep, you know, staying self-aware and growing and building with each other, you know,
Yeah.
it's going to naturally grow and manifest, you know?
I see it like there's my dad always told me growing up, you'll only ever be super successful if you're the first to do something, the best at something, or you get lucky. I don't ever want to be in the position where I have a lot of eyes on me because I lucked out on something.
Yeah.
Like I want to be in the pursuit of being the best by learning more and being experimentative and figuring out something cool the first time, just because you spend so much. Like it's one thing that leads into the next, and I see so many instances where people get that attention, man, and they just don't know how to deal. Like I remember situations where I thought that I was ready, that I thought I was ready to conquer, that I thought I wanted really, really bad, until the moment where that opportunity was basically in front of me, or I saw somebody trying to take that opportunity, even someone who I thought was more proficient in that thing, and I saw how not ready they were and how all the variables that they didn't consider in their head, and I never want to have to experience that firsthand. I got the opportunity to see that and know that I didn't want to be in that position. So truly the whole success out of everything is when I am excited to do the thing that I'm doing. Like that's when all the exponential feel good of it kind of rises. When I'm in the process of doing it, I'm like, wow, I'm having this is a good experience for me. And there's a point in my life where I like tried to convince myself that like I didn't have to feel negatively about anything, and like even though it didn't last for the longest time, or I just was boisterously over happy, it definitely affected the way that like I saw things in general. I don't know, it's a mixture of like consistency, kind of fake it till you make it, and just keeping that seed planted in your head at all times. Like I'll never one of the best and worst things about me is that I am relentless in my ambition, whether that's too much for me to handle or whatever. I don't think I'll ever give up on my hope of pursuing the thing that I want to.
Professional beekeeper.
Beekeeper. Yeah, man, like I truly enjoy the thought of like having a kid when I'm in my 40s, and then like teaching my kid like how to be the next, like better than I was. You know what I mean? I see nuances in the future where I will be able to appreciate being able to help someone become better than I ever was. In the sense that like that just makes me want to be better for that moment rather than just even for myself. And that's a super powerful feeling. And there's similar ways to latch on to that type of power, you know what I mean? Like finding a purpose beyond your personal desire to be better. You know, being better, like truly understanding the meaning behind being better for someone else. Shit that doesn't even exist yet, you know what I mean? Like that's a type of love that I want to be able to distribute. I feel like that's where the desire to blow up comes from. At least like my personal inner like, oh man, I want to share this. I want to share this experience that I'm having and making this, you know. And again, going to our MO, man, you know what I mean? Like just giving people the option to dial into the things that they are most passionate about. You know, like I should it's the worst thing to be a kid, to be an adolescent, and to feel like you're not good at anything. You know, like it goes back to that Einstein like we're telling fish to climb a tree when they need to swim in water. You know what I mean? it's like this our school system, our how we grew up. You know what I mean? Like I want people to look for mentors in our own generation and find that. You know what I mean? I find a lot of teachers my age or younger. I'm getting more accepting of finding people who are younger than me or my age and finding ways to learn from them. It's been one of the hardest things I've had to do, like just dealing with male pride in general, but
True.
like it's been one of the most fruitful things for my character.
Yeah, trust me, bro. Like working with kids, man, really taught me the other side of the spectrum. You know, and I've always just enjoyed working with kids. I've always just enjoyed because I have a lot of like younger cousins, just hanging out with them. But I feel like when you're working with a lot of kids, and you're like your literal job is to be like a great role model. You know, that's all it really is to just pull up every day and just be the best person that you can be, because everything that you do is for the betterment of these kids, you know. And when that's your daily routine, and I'll tell you, bro, to this day, like those couple of years that I was doing that, man, like that's my favorite work that I've ever done, you know. And that's like the least I was getting paid. You feel me? But like, and there was no sweat, because every day I was waking up and I was like hanging out with super cool kids, you know, and just feeling like, and also being in like the same space where I was a kid, and I got that opportunity to, you know, hang out with cool counselors and just cool role models that, you know, really helped me to grow outside of myself, you know. And I really believe that having opportunities like that for children is so crucial, you know, because I think just looking inward to myself, had I not had that opportunity, it would have been a lot harder for me to like outreach, you know. But I feel like being put into a community as a kid with a bunch of other kids that, you know, whether I met them through hooping or through the camp or just different, you know, just in the neighborhood, it's just like as we all grew up, it just became a natural, like, we just see each other around the neighborhood, or you see each other at the Y, you know, or just in the city, you know, as you get older and you go to school or just whatever, you know. It's like that community is built, you know. And I know y'all could feel that too from where you guys are from, to a certain, you know, in your own lanes. But yeah, man, at the end of the day, like, the youth is so crucial, and I think now more than ever, like, we're really, I don't know, man, like, I feel like there's just a huge handicap for these kids right now, you know. They're stuck in this cluster F of adults
reality,
reality, you know, and they're being forced to grow up a lot faster, basically, right?
Absolutely.
At the same time, they're not getting the social interactions that they desperately need at that age, you know. These kids that are like 4 to all the way to college, you know, like, and so on. It's like, but especially like 4 to like high school, like through high school, that's crucial, man. That's literally what establishes you as a person, you know. And I feel like, I think this generation of kids, like, they'll be all right. They'll be able to, you know, this will be their own challenge that they'll grow into, you know. But I think at the same time, it's going to hinder them to a certain extent, because I don't know, like, it will and it won't, because at the same time, like, they're growing up into this new age of what the world is kind of becoming, right? So it's like they're growing up into what the world might look like in 10, 20 years or so, you know. And we're, as the millennials, like, dead smack in the middle of it all, you know. Like, we know kind of both sides of the older generations, and still can understand where the young kids are coming from. So it's go ahead, man.
No, I was just listening to you.
Oh, I thought Justin was.
Yeah, I
Oh,
feel
Justin,
like
sorry. I
Okay,
thought you
no,
were
you're
talking to me.
there's like a line between, like, because it's all like kids will always have that desire to. Well, they'll just always contain just way more energy than we'll know what to do with, more than they know what to do with.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, it's really like shaving off the curve between like recklessness and like mature confidence.
Exactly.
Like, these kids, because I feel like their actions are a result of them feeling like this world is too saturated for them to make any difference. And so you see on super outliers, like more outlandish things, more impressive things. Like you see athletes getting stronger. You see younger musicians getting more talented younger and younger. You see just the hyperbola of like everything on negative sides too. Like the most violent people, the smartest young people, like the most substantial generation will always be the generation upcoming. And it's understanding that curve of like, okay, we have like an increase of basically everything coming in, and we need a way to just kind of universally channel that. It's easier said than done for sure, but you see through it like over and over throughout the years, man. That's why I do music. Like at the very least, I feel like kids learning a musical instrument or just or learning a second language, having that ingrained at an early age, I feel I see it's more crucial. Oftentimes than not being so beneficial.
I mean, music, bro, as a young kid, it really just like opens your mind almost. You understand music is a different language, you know, and as a young kid, if you're able to even somewhat kind of grasp the idea of music theory and understand an instrument, or be able to play a sport, or be able to just be good at whatever, you know?
Yeah.
I think
even a sport too, you know, like it's like getting, like me at my age, learning how to get better at basketball, getting a feel for the basketball. Like it's like you see people who just play all this stuff, or just someone who has the wettest jump shot ever, you know, like you can see where it's like, okay, just put the ball in the basket, just play the keys, but it's just getting that feel and letting at a young age, you know what I mean? Like there's a confidence in that feeling of mastery, you know what I mean? The longer that a kid exists with that in themselves, like the less that they'll need validation from the outside world to know that they're worth of whatever they want to do.
No doubt.
And that's really like one of the biggest things that's missing with all that you see within this poverty is just like such a blanket of depression that you can't, it's like it's so broadly diagnosed and categorized that like it just comes down to just developing kids at a young age, you know, even in spite of all the adversity that they have to face now or will face, like giving them options when they're young and nurturing a young and fragile mind to be able to carry its own weight on its shoulders. You know, I feel like my brain is too often too big for my body, man. There's just so much going on, and like for as well versed as I am and had to learn how to be, I wish, one of the things I wish is just another way to channel everything going on in my head. Like I do my best to channel it through the things that I'm good at, my music and, you know, everything that makes me happy.
Yeah.
But I know that that's one thing that wouldn't do any, that would only benefit the younger generations.
Yeah, no, I feel you, bro. And the reality is, and again, through like my experience, bro, like for that to succeed, everything that you just said, it comes down to the role models caring. That's what it comes down to, literally. Like, cause
that's where the fake it till you make it.
You're
like,
either
you need to be.
You're either gonna, but literally when you have, it's a day-to-day thing, bro. Like it's like when you're working with the youth, when you're working with kids, there's no off days. There's no okay, I'm just gonna pull up and I'm just gonna sit in the corner and watch them do whatever willy-nilly. And I'm telling you, bro, like this is just one instance, bro. And this isn't even a worst-case scenario, you know, where you just kind of have a situation where after a while the resources and the right people aren't there, where it gets to a point where like it's pretty much utter chaos and you have kids just like, you know, not really having no structure whatsoever. So it's like it all comes down to accountability and having a team or a community or just people in general in whatever form that takes, and understanding, what we've all said here, and just putting that into action. And at the end of the day, like, you can be in a situation where you may have 1 or 2 or 3 or 4 people that are at that understanding and do care and are accountable and this and that, but that just may not be enough, so you have these people that are working hard, right? You have these good people in, you have the good cops and you have the good politicians, but they're in a pool of however so many people that don't care and don't give an F, So it's combating that, and that's the ultimate struggle is you have a pool of people in this world that cares and wants to make this happen, then you have people that just don't give a F and are just taking up space, bro.
I have an equation in my head for that, right? Like an x-axis, a y-axis, like what we envision, what we hope and aspire to be, where we think we are, where we need to be, and at what point do those two things converge. I feel like personally, when you feel like you are at the place where you want to be or closest to it is a point where you can afford to bring new life into this world. I feel, because from the moment that you have and bring that new life in this world, it's your job to uphold the image of everything you aspire to be and pass it on to that kid. And if you don't have and I see people who try so hard to meet up to those standards of what they hope to be and what their kid automatically assumes that they are. You know what I mean? And like, every little letdown, every little thing, it's a part of like, just planning. You know what I mean? Like, I don't think I'm gonna have a kid until I'm in my 30s, son, because like there's no way for me to grow into the person that I need to become and for that person until for any foreseeable future. Yeah. And it goes back to that introspectiveness, you know what I mean? Like tethering reality to our hopes and dreams. You know what I mean? Like the further we dissociate those two, the more of a unsuccessful childhood campaign you'll have. Like if I want to be more than what my kid thinks I am. I want to be able to be more than what my kid thinks I am and surprise my kid and be that role. Like I want my kid to look at me and be like, wow, as long as I'm just like that person, what else do I need? And what else do you need if you feel like you can provide that for someone else? And it makes me sad that too many people don't even consider that when they bring literal new consciousness into this world that has to ponder and deal with all of this and consider all of this. Like, none of us asked for this. Right. None of us asked for this. Right. And some of us were lucky enough to be brought into this world under guidance that made us who we are. And I can only thank God for the majority of people who had that guidance. And I don't know, it doesn't really just come down to that, but that's my 2 cents.
I hear you, man. I hear you. Yeah, I mean, I feel like we said what we need to say. I think that's
on that topic. What we need to talk about.
Let's let it breathe. Let's let it breathe for a little. We'll take a little break, and then we'll come back.
I want to get right into this next weekend, Bray.
I need a breather, man. Let's take a quick little break, and we'll be back on Northside Plug.
Flavor.
back in this bitch.
Whoa. On a chill Thursday.
Chill.
Hanging out with the Northside Plug Squad. If you're enjoying this, make sure if you got the phone next to you, hit that caller line 312-985-7834. Tell a friend we're on YouTube right now. Subscribe to our YouTube channel, Northside Plug. If you are enjoying this podcast and you don't know where to find us, podcast on the radio. Isn't that unique?
Very unique.
Lakers in 5.
I said Lakers in 5 weeks ago, and now it's coming to fruition. I knew the Heat would get one game. They needed Jimmy to do triple. They needed Jimmy to put a 40-point triple double up, but they got a win. So they got one win on the board. They avoided being swept.
One Tyler Hero sneer.
Snarl.
Snarl. Sneer. Snarl.
Is Danny Green
Snarl.
getting a ring if they win?
I mean, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
Deion Waiters is getting a ring with either team wins. So.
Really?
I mean, because he was on the Heat for like at some point this year, so the Heat could give him a ring if they
I
wanted.
thought they already addressed that, and they're like, nah.
So I mean, but it doesn't matter. So, but I mean, we all it's all what we kind of expected, right? I mean, I feel like once the Clippers and the Bucks left, we all knew the Lakers were inevitably gonna win the title, and now we're one game away from.
What happened
the
to
Lakers taking
DeMarcus Cousins? Like, wasn't he on the Lakers?
He tore his Achilles again.
And they cut him.
They cut
Oh,
him.
They cut him. They cut him. That's what it was.
I was about to say, man, that man was ring chasing hard.
Mhm.
Hard.
No,
Right.
but my man Dwight Howard's gonna finally get a ring though,
Hell
so
yeah.
I'm pumped for that.
Imagine if he never got
Pulling
DeMarcus
at David
Cousins.
Robinson.
If he
If,
didn't get
if
injured.
Boogie never got injured,
Yeah, and he would have been on this. Because I don't think Dwight Howard gets a job with the Lakers if Boogie Cousins.
Boogie
gets
stays
injured.
healthy.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, Boogie's one of my favorite players to watch. I always just wish he was always healthy. He just never can stay healthy anymore. Because he's just like a big guy like me, and he does everything on the floor, and it's just so funny to watch him just throw bodies around. but I mean, going back to the finals, from what I've watched of this series, it's just you can have a great bench like the Heat do, but when 2 of the 4 best basketball players in the world are on one side of the court, it's kind of hard to stack your team against them.
Yeah.
Just watching LeBron or Anthony Davis take over games is unbelievable. I honestly heard someone, like, I think someone said this, and I think Dwayne Wayne confirmed it, that Anthony Davis is the best player or the best, like, complementary player to put with LeBron. Especially now at this point in LeBron's career where he's just looking to facilitate. He's not looking to, like, drive to the basket and hammer it home as much.
Yeah.
With Anthony Davis, it opens up your team so much more. And in this style of 3-and-D where LeBron drives and kicks to Anthony Davis or does whatever, and having Anthony Davis out, like, even with Anthony Davis and you put a couple other bench guys out there, that's still like a decent lineup. So, like, you don't even have to have both of them out there to make an impact, but when they both are, it's really hard to compete against that.
Yeah. I mean, goes to show why they even, like, attempted the zone in a final series.
Yeah.
They just didn't have any options in the paint. I mean, when you have Magic LeBron as the pick man in a pick and roll with Anthony Davis and 3 potential sharpshooters in the corner when Danny Green isn't deciding to brick every shot, it's just too much to deal with. You know, I feel like the one win that they got was the most impressive because of their handicap first and foremost.
No Dragic or no Adebayo.
Yeah. All credit to Jimmy. Just the fact that he won a finals game.
Mm-hmm.
Oh man, what did the Bulls do when they let him go, man? Come on, like
Yo.
I still do nothing but play League Series in 2K with D-Rose and Butler. Like, man, like how far would that duo go?
Yeah. I mean,
I'm not gonna talk about D-Rose just because
with
Aaron gets mad at
Jimmy,
me when I do.
with Jimmy, I think being on the Heat has just allowed him to take his game to a whole nother level than he has before, and it's also with maturity of him and the players around him have been so just so on
I
fire.
don't like him
it seems.
taking no threes whatsoever. They just gave him the 3 in Game 4. Like they were like, go ahead and take it. Like they disrespected him with the amount of space that they gave him, and I don't like that he only took like 1 shot from the three.
He can't really shoot threes.
I know he can't, but like, I mean, look at that Philadelphia run when he was doing nothing but shooting threes.
Yeah, true. Yeah, I guess so. But I mean, when you're a guy like Jimmy, a position like Jimmy is, where it's your first appearance in the finals, you take this team that no one expected to make to the finals. No one was picking the Heat. Are you kidding me? No one was picking the Heat. And take this team and then
ISO be like, I did.
And what stinks is, and the worst part about it is like you want to see these teams fully healthy and competing against each other. Like to lose Bam and Dragic in game 1. And sure, Bam was back yesterday, but he wasn't the same Bam that we saw earlier in the playoffs. I got to give props to Jimmy for them to get this far, but it's just and they're so close to the top, but the top is blocked by LeBron and AD, and they're not letting anyone get past them to
By
go to the top.
so much playoff experience. Like, even the only thing you can do is just like hats off to these young players. Like, I mean, the youngest player to play in a finals game period. You know what I mean? Like, I get that. I get that he was, or to start. My bad.
Well, also both.
The fact I get that he was putting up some pretty shady stat lines throughout like the first 3 quarters of every game, but like, I mean, that's your first finals experience. You know what I mean?
Right, yeah.
And like, granted, it was without the distraction of a finals crowd. And the I mean, think about that. Think about if they had to travel for home games for the final series. That would be a whole, like, just so many variables. Yeah.
I think there's so many variables that we didn't witness that, like would the Heat have gone to the finals if they weren't a neutral court, if they had to go to Milwaukee for games 1 and 2, or there's so many what ifs that, like, when every team's on the same playing field in that way, you can't really say that, because like what the home court advantage they have in the bubble is your graphics get put up on the sidelines, and that's really it. And like, how much does that get it? And like, the only crowds that are there is the family of the players, so like you don't get that really loud, like just like over the top, like you can't hear your own teammates' loudness. And
ooh, fun game. 3 biggest winners of the bubble, 3 biggest losers of the bubble. It could be individuals, it could be teams.
Number 1 biggest winner is Jimmy Butler.
Yeah.
I think he's shown that I feel like everyone always writes off Jimmy. It's just like, he's not going to be the guy. He has to be a number 2 guy. Like, because like, it didn't work out in Chicago. It didn't work out in Minnesota. It didn't work out in Philly. It just never worked at all these places. And for him to take this team, like I just said, no one expected the Heat to make the finals. Everyone was like, oh, it's the Bucks, or maybe the Celtics or the Raptors will repeat. Like, those are my picks. Or like the Sixers. Like, I was on the Sixers to begin the season. No one expected the Heat to make the finals. So I think Jimmy Butler is one of the biggest statement players made in the bubble, especially with the playoffs.
I agree with that. Number 1. I feel like it's a mix between Jimmy Butler and Anthony Davis. Like that. Like, there's really there's nothing that you can point to Anthony. Like, I feel like the outcome would be the same whether there's bubble or no bubble, and the fact that there wasn't, like, he was gonna be getting a chip probably anyways. So it really couldn't have been, I don't want to say an easier ride. It's not as like like an almost title look like a LeBron, where it's just like, okay, he needs like that 4th legitimate chip to like make that legacy, where it's like, okay, this is just the starting point of Anthony Davis's career, and like this kind of easy chip is probably the best way for him to like get that first chip and grow. I feel so that would be my top 2 winners. I feel like the 3rd top winner of the bubble would be the Warriors.
For sitting at home?
Sitting at home, for getting the number 2 pick, and for basically getting the entire season to rest the 2 best shooters of all time.
That wasn't my pick, but I love
That's
that
a good pick. I actually don't hate that pick. That's a good pick.
I love that pick.
That's a good pick.
My 3 are Jimmy Butler, Damian Lillard, and the Phoenix Suns.
Okay.
I think we already said about Jimmy Butler. I think Damian Lillard just like kind of mixing in with your point of the Warriors. I think he thrived on the Warriors not being in the bubble,
right?
And kind of forgetting who Steph Curry is, but at the same time, thriving on
make a mark for himself.
Exactly.
He had nobody shadowing his ability to have limitless range.
Exactly. Exactly. You know, so he thrived, and then I mean, think about it, bro. Like they really get to grind just to get in the playoffs.
Right.
You know, so the fact that they made it into the playoffs, and they're pretty much the only reason why, or the Grizzlies really, but either way, you know, like why the Suns didn't make it in, because I mean. The Suns did everything right, and I'm really excited to see.
They literally did all they could. They won every game they could.
And they still didn't make it.
So I'm really excited. And I've been saying, like, the past couple of years, like, the Suns are on the up and up, you know, and I think, you know, they'll still get probably, depending if they have the pick, they'll still get a decent mid-20s pick probably, you know. So, no, they're in the lottery, right? Yeah, they didn't make it. They're in the lottery, no? The Suns?
Yeah.
So they're in the lottery, 100%. So they'll be decent, man, and they're in a good position. So, but I like the Warriors, man. I like that thing. I like what you said.
Another winner, Jamal Murray.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
I forgot about him. Yep.
I think just the performance he had in the playoffs, the efficiency he was shooting at, the 3-1 deficits they came back from, trying to almost do that against LeBron and AD. It was a lot of fun to watch those Nuggets teams. And I already knew who Jokic was as a player because he's one of my favorites to watch just because that's who I want to be when I play basketball. But Jamal Murray, the way I saw him attack games and attack the basket on both ends of the floor, and the efficiency he was shooting at all throughout the bubble was just unbelievable. So he's also a guy that I gotta say was a huge winner for the bubble.
I very much agree. Any more winners?
Other winners I can think of the top of my head. Michelob Ultra for their courtside, whatever the thing is.
Yeah.
That's all I got.
All right.
Personal players.
Losers?
Doc Rivers
Yes.
/ the Clippers.
Yes.
Mhm.
Everyone's
Absolutely.
one of the favorite picks to go to the finals this year. Lost 3-1 to the Nuggets. They let the Nuggets win them in 3 straight games. And that's the thing with like home court. Are the Nuggets able to come back 3-1 if they have to have 2 games in LA? I don't know. So but like I just said, like it's the same conditions for everyone, so they had the same opportunity as the Clippers to like finish that out. So
Exactly.
but like seeing Doc go, and now the Doc's the head coach of the Sixers. Oh my gosh.
Woo!
I feel like they got knocked out for very similar reasons that the Bucks got knocked out.
Another loser.
Yep. Do you feel like Giannis? No, because Giannis is still Giannis, and he can go wherever he wants, and any team will want him. I feel like the Bucks as a team definitely took the biggest hit because even if they trade Giannis, like what they'll get back for him still won't replace what they're losing, and they might even end up. No, they won't. They'll end up. I think they'll get draft picks if they end up trading him, but like they'll have to completely reassemble their identity like the Celtics had to do. So unless they get like a Jason Tatum and like a super star-studded young core, or just like another superstar that supersedes Giannis's ability to take a team to the finals, which he wasn't able to do for their team this season. It's just not a good-looking position.
It's up to Giannis at the end of the day, you know.
Yeah, I feel like he loses out way less than the Bucks as a franchise loses out on right now.
Yeah, I mean he has all the leverage.
Yeah. I wouldn't say like we said that like Paul George / Doc Rivers / the Clippers are like a loser. I wouldn't put it on Giannis. I'd put it more on the Bucks organization.
No doubt.
Like, because like they're in a position now where like Giannis is gonna get a super max deal. Like he's gonna get a stupid contract. In like a year or two. Are you gonna try to build around him, or are you gonna let him walk freely? And like one of the last moments you kind of have at this cheaper rate to win it all, you know what I'm saying? With like this group of guys, you're losing. You're like the championship window, as they say, is closing kind of fast. So they got to act sooner rather than later.
Yeah, and I want to backtrack. You know, I agree, but I had to second guess, and I'm not gonna be as quick to just say, oh, it's not Giannis's fault. It is Giannis's fault, to be honest, because I mean, you have your core didn't get it done, but at the end of the day, this is the 2-time MVP. This man got the MVP award, bro, and I this is the first time in a while that I was not pleased with that with the choice of the MVP. Usually I don't care. Usually it's like, okay, cool, that's who it's supposed to be. But I did not agree with Giannis. Am I discrediting him as a player? His numbers? There's nothing I'm discrediting about Giannis. I just think that you got to give it to either LeBron or I don't know.
No, LeBron.
I felt like LeBron needed it this year. But regardless, that's not the truth. But regardless, the truth of the matter is that Giannis, this was their year. This was their year.
The
and
fact that he
Giannis
got
is
defensive player too.
and defensive player, and you get bounced in the second round to a Heat squad that wasn't even all power to the Heat, no doubt about it. But at the end of the day, like, you're the franchise player, you're the one that you're literally crowning yourself. Like you're the man supposedly. So if you're the man, this is on you. This is on you, because at the end of the day, the Damian Lillards and the LeBron James and the Dwayne Wades and the Michael Jordans and the Kobe Bryants, when they lose that game or whatever's going on, they're blaming themselves. Derrick Rose.
That's true. Yeah, you're right.
They're blaming themselves. So, I think next year for the Bucks is crucial.
Yeah.
Crucial. I think it's
Very important
championship or bust.
Absolutely.
Finals at least
And
or bust.
I didn't mean to fully take out Giannis and say
I
Giannis
wasn't
is-
saying you were.
Yeah,
Yeah. But I just wanted to make that point.
Yeah, you're right. You're right, and I agree. Like I like, just like the organization as a whole is now with their elimination, they're now in a really tough spot overall of what the next couple of years is going to look like for
No
their
doubt.
organization. And of course, Giannis is at the core of that, because they're literally like, do you want to keep this little huge rock that we're going to build around, or is he going to go and then we have to
Yeah.
start from square one again?
Yeah.
It's kind of weird for a guy like that to be in like such a big profile player to be in such a small market.
Yeah.
Like kind of how like LeBron was in Cleveland almost. Will the people behind the scenes kind of make him go elsewhere into a bigger market, like they made LeBron go to Miami? I'm just kidding.
Yeah.
But any other losers you can think from the bubble besides the Clippers and the Bucks / Giannis?
Can I make one more Bucks point before we're over? Last
Fear
thing,
the deer.
just real quick. I think the Bucks, I don't, as much as it is championship or bust, I think there's not a lot of work through the front office that needs to be done. It just needs to be a couple pieces reshifted. I think you have a great core of Giannis and Middleton in itself right there. Everybody else outside of that, I think Brook Lopez fits very well. And if that's
I think having the utility of both Lopez's.
that's even better.
Yeah.
Yeah, no doubt. But even just having one, but if you do have both, and I think
You had Rob Lopez chucking threes and making them.
Yeah, you just need either a really dope point guard or another scoring body, because you can't have, when Giannis is out, you can't have Chris Middleton as your number one. You need that man as your number two or as your number three, because he's a great scorer, but unless he evolves into that kind of Kobe, Brandon Roy, Dwayne Wade-esque type of player, I don't think they're gonna be able to elevate past that, because I don't believe in DiVincenzo and I don't believe in Eric Bledsoe. I don't believe in these players to get you over that hump. You need to bring a Chris Paul in. You need to bring a dope wing, or so.
Yeah, they just need one more piece, and I don't think everyone can agree on what that one piece is.
Yeah.
With some teams you can look at they need that, they need this.
Yeah.
I think we're not exactly sure what the Bucks single need or most dire need is at this point.
Because Giannis shifts everything around so much.
Exactly. Where they're kind of in a tough position. So
I'm thinking I was thinking, okay, what point guard could possibly help flesh that team out a little bit? And it got me thinking, because I want to say, and it just got me thinking, man, maybe this person is kind of taking a hit in this offseason too. But someone like Russell Westbrook,
oh no, that would be a recipe for disaster. Giannis and Russell Westbrook.
But think about it in on any team at this point. You know what I mean? Because he is who he is. The type of just someone who could attack and rebound and chuck assists. It seems like it would be just having another aggressor on someone like the Bucks. But I don't know. Clearly he's not a fit on the Rockets, and the Thunder dumped him off, and it's really how else do you mesh the two next season unless you dump Russ off to another team? The chemistry there, because he's so ball dominant. I would even say more so than someone on par with James Harden. So the fact that he went to the Rockets and they even made it as far as they did was interesting. But for someone like Russell Westbrook, like, what's the great advantage of having like anyone else other than Russell Westbrook
Yeah.
on your team?
I think like a player like Westbrook, bro. I think I think Westbrook needs to play with like a Dirk type of player or a Jokic type of player,
Yeah,
like like a, because his whole NBA career, bro, he's been playing with like, he's never played with a true dominant like big man.
Yeah.
Like he's played with KD, but that he's a scorer, you know, like, so you basically his whole career he's had at least one or two other players that are like super ball
High
dominant
volume.
playmaker, high volume players. Like he needs to be able to have that ball in his hand, but at the same time, like, because he's an explosive player where either he's gonna go up to the cup or he's gonna shoot that mid-range elbow shot, or he will pull up for that three every once in a while. But at the end of the day, you need that Jokic, you need that a player that's gonna be able to clean up the mess that he's creating, you know, because he's gonna create a mess. So you need somebody that's not only gonna pick up that mess, clean that mess up, but also like be as almost, if not equally efficient. I believe, because we haven't seen that with the Westbrook team. Up to
I mean,
this
that's
point.
why I was kind of, because I totally agree with you, and it's just like that's when I was trying to put it in my head, like, okay, like Giannis can kind of do all those things, you know what I mean? And like nobody's like gunning for someone like Russell Westbrook right now. Like nobody needs a player like Russell Westbrook right now. Like I can't think of any teams, and I can't even I still can't understand why he could even mesh with the team he's on now.
Yeah.
So I don't know. It makes me think like, man, like the value or need for a guy like that is kind of waning. Kind of like the traditional big man in today's game is like waning. You know, like it's hard for me to try and find a chemistry that complements someone like Russell Westbrook.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't know.
He's such a unique player that it's kind of hard to picture the right player with him, I think.
That man got dominated by LeBron James, bro. I'm sorry, bro. This man got dominated by LeBron James that whole series, just getting blocked. Like, Russell Westbrook usually looks like, ooh, you know, big swole, and he's a big swole dude, but LeBron was making him look small, bro. Like LeBron was just with ease, just perfect timing, just volleyball swat on them. I was like, wow.
I guess when I look at players like Russ, and then it's just like, okay, maybe he could fit on like Sacramento, right? But it's just like, I don't know. I think I would take De'Aaron Fox over Russell Westbrook just because like the chemistry just looks better there. Like, I don't know. I guess I see like that, like a waning of the explosive, like the drive first point guard. I see just like, I don't know, that kind of phasing out for the foreseeable future. I don't know.
What if you, okay, I got a scenario. I don't know how you would make it happen, but what if I feel like this could maybe work. Maybe. And this is why I want to get Dan's take. Russell Westbrook on the Celtics, bro, with Jason Tatum. What would you think about that? In however else it would take. I don't know who else is on the squad, but Jason Tatum is on that squad.
I love Russ.
And that's my point. Like this is my point right here.
Instead of Kemba?
Yes. Like instead of Kemba, instead of Kyrie, like that's your point guard.
I don't hate that at all. I don't know. I don't hate that because I think I love watching Russ play basketball. Ever since he came in, even at UCLA, I love watching him play basketball. I just think the energy,
I see is 3-point doinks, bro.
The energy, see, that's the one thing I'm afraid of. It's just like the guy can't shoot a jumper for his life. Like I don't know what happened, but like he used to be a decent jump shooter. Now he just stinks. So like I love Russ when he's attacking the basket and on the defensive end. I think he brings so much energy to the game. He's just not a great jump shooter anymore, which is not what I love. But like if he could create better for a guy like Jason Tatum because of everyone's crashing the lane, like waiting for him, that'd be pretty cool. Like I would love to.
It would be.
But I mean,
until he can prove that
I don't know how it happened, but that'd be pretty sick.
Until he can prove to like me and the fans and people and the coaches that would potentially hire him that he doesn't need to feel like an unstoppable force, that he can mesh. I don't.
But I think that's the problem, bro. I think
that's exactly it's the problem. Like he seems like he needs to feel like he's the like his own unstoppable force. And when
No, this is what I feel like, bro. I feel like the problem is that whatever scenario he is in is trying too much to like. I think a player like Russ, bro, like you have to build around that. You have to build the structure of your team around that player because Russ is gonna move with reckless abandon. He can do everything and anything, and if you can take that, I think, bro, like I think if you have Russell, I don't know. No, I'm not gonna say that. Anyway,
that's why I said Kings.
Yeah, he's just he's tough, man. He's tough. Cause I'm thinking, would I put him on the Bulls? I mean, I would take him on the Bulls, but at the same time, I would take him on the Bulls.
We got Kobe White.
I would take him on the Bulls. I think low key, I think he would be a decent.
I agree.
Pick, bro,
I agree. I mean, we got Laurie. It would be the best mesh in that Dirk scenario where you got that tall power forward that's a shooter first.
Yeah, and then you got Wendell at the 5.
Like it's not a bad fit. It's not. It's just like you see what you need out of your point guard. It's just like I see that in De'Aaron. I see that in Kobe White, and like shoot. I'm sorry. I could like whenever you think of like the next example next to Prime D Rose, you always think of Russell Westbrook.
Yeah.
But you see the player that Derrick Rose has become, and there's a new argument for his legacy now because of the player that he's become, rather than having the whole argument be based on his MVP season in 2011, which is my argument against Aaron's. Like I don't always sauce up Derrick Rose's 2011 campaign. It was amazing. It's great, and I'll always talk about it. But my love from D Rose spurs from his adaptability as a point guard over specifically the last 3 years.
D Rose was great regardless, man. Like I know what I witnessed with D Rose, and sure he didn't,
What's the difference between a player like Prime D Rose or what D Rose was capable of versus what's holding someone like Russell Westbrook back? If anything, it looks on paper that Russell Westbrook has more than all the tools that D Rose did have. But I see more of a winner's mentality in D Rose.
Yeah, and I think one word for that I think is ego.
Yeah.
Russ's ego is
100%.
bigger than this room.
Yep.
Where like young D Rose,
humble.
Like
Humble.
You see this little tiny part of the bell? That's the size of his ego. And his MVP campaign compared to Russ's MVP campaign.
Yeah.
Which was triple-double machine, stat padding mother.
He got 2 MVPs, right?
No, there's one.
One.
Oh. Well, like, I think the biggest difference is ego, because I think Russ now is like, I think the only thing that Russ is worried about now is winning a championship, because I think he's realized he's won everything else, and that's the only thing that's left for him. For a young D Rose, I think he was just going out there and looking to ball, just looking to play basketball and show everyone who he was, because he was still so young at that point. And we didn't really know who Derrick Rose was. We knew like the Memphis Final Four appearance, D Rose, and we like knew this kid was special. But like that was like, this is Derrick Rose. Like that was special.
Yeah,
bro. Literally, man. Cause I really like became a basketball junkie in that era of like D Rose coming up, bro, and I can visualize to this day like it was on a Saturday, waking up in that game 1 against the Celtics, his rookie year, where he scored like 36 points in overtime, like up to overtime and whatnot. Like that whole just Derrick Rose was so special, and it's just like if you weren't like, whether like witnessing that on the television or blessed to be able to like go to a Bulls game and see what this man could do on the basketball court, man. Like, yes, he's no LeBron James, and he's not he wasn't, well, that's the thing about D Rose. We'll never know, but we always have to remember where he was at the time before he got injured in comparison to where everybody else was. And at that time, like, I know where D Rose was at. Nobody was messing with D Rose. Just like with, people will say, oh, you'll have the Damian Lillards like, oh, I'm shooting better than Curry, Jamal Murray, probably feeling like he's a better shooter than Curry. You forget when that man steps on the court and he's 100%, it's lights out. When D Rose is on the court, And he's
even
100%.
now, bro, you only give him 15, 20 minutes, but like he will. If you give him 20 minutes, he might average 20 points, bro. He might give you 15,
D-Rose?
20 points now, bro. Yeah,
but it's different though because it's just not
is.
his
It's-
explosive
it's-
self.
He still has one of the quickest first steps as a point guard. He just does. He still has that quick first step. He's a bench player, but my point being, like, I still feel like D Rose will get a chip before Russ. He's still a more desirable point guard to a franchise like the Lakers or the Clippers than a player like Russ.
Because he's more adaptable.
Yeah,
at this
he
point.
could come off the bench and give you that bench scoring and have the mentality of thinking team first.
Yeah.
That's yeah. You guys, what do you guys think? Who do you think will get a chip first?
I think D Rose just only because, like we were saying, the
If
adaptability.
any.
The adaptability of D Rose is so much easier to put him like on your team and have him play like in a different role than Russ. I think like with Russ right now, you have to build around Russ or like Russ another piece. Like those are like the main building blocks. Where like Derrick Rose is like a perfect like addition to the main pieces.
Yeah.
If that makes sense.
Yeah.
Right now, like so like it would be easier to have like you could have thrown Derrick Rose on the Lakers and he would have been
Which I hope they do,
he
and
would
I
have been
think
fine
they
and
might
like he
try
could have
and
won a
do
ring
that.
this year. So like it's like one of those things where I think D Rose can fit on a lot more teams than Russ could.
Like
so, yeah.
if we're talking about Lakers trying to repeat next year, I feel like that would be a good move for them.
Could be.
Yeah, just depends on their cap space and whatnot, and who sticks around, you know.
Yeah.
But man,
You guys want to call it?
all we have is memories of D Rose.
Oh man, he's still balling. He's gonna be getting
Yeah,
Adidas money
but
till
not in a Chicago Bulls uniform. That's all I care about, bro. Like, I mean, I'm always supporting repping Derrick Rose. Don't get me wrong, but at the end of the day, man, he's not in a Chicago Bulls uniform.
Yeah.
I got to see my Bulls performing, you know, and I'm always happy for him. But I'm just hoping and praying.
Well, we got
for-
about a month till the draft lottery, so
Woo!
you got a little time to worry about that.
Put it
About
on.
5
Put on
weeks.
the cap.
I just looked it up. I think it's about 5 weeks from today.
I'm geeked. I am geeked. Oh, before we wrap up, I don't know if y'all saw in the world of hip hop, supposedly this man Tory Lanez, bro, gonna get 22 years.
Yeah, for
What?
shooting Megan Thee Stallion.
What?
Yeah, bro.
Dang.
Supposedly, if that's the truth, like,
Well, that's the max of these.
yeah, they're saying like 22 and 8 months.
Shoot. Well.
Literally.
Yikes.
Wow. That's a bell ring. Wowzers.
Wowzers.
So,
Man, I would so rather be in the position I'm in and humble rather than like get it young and then just have my whole character be jaded and skewed by the time I die, man. I like out of everything, man, I never want to lose sight of who I am until my dying breath, bro. I want to like leave this earth and like let out my last breath a sigh of relief rather than like no, for real, bro. Like I think about that like am I shaping myself to be the type of person to die satisfied?
are you?
I think so. I think I'm on track for that.
Excellent. I hope we all are, man. Just
Ooh, that violin.
violin.
Or
Turn
a
me up
lute.
just,
I don't
you
know,
know.
is it a lute or something? Or...
Turn me up just, one for the one time.
Oh, okay.
Scream, say cheese, so I say cheese. Gon' smile on the C-A-M, that's the camp spell, ooh-wee. Having fun, yeah, ooh-wee. With the gang on another Thursday, gon' play, feel like gunplay, ride wordplay, ooh-wee. Put on my helmet, got that helmet hurt. I'm moving around, yeah, I feel like I should move out of here. We gon' move, we gon' make these bands. They was like, dang, how you do it with these instruments? Hey, got the D-A-W. What you doing if you ain't get W's? Use a loser, use an accuser, use an assumer. You not a doer, we doers, we movers, we pushers, we we make it happen, And they was trying to not allow us to make it happen. I was breaking my shackles, now I battle all these rappers that do not want to battle. I see they trying to tattle, hey, I'm going razzle dazzle the way that I'm shining with my guys, and we gon' find that line, and you know we going and we disguise. Hey, I'm just trying to go Samurai Jack, y'all. all the enemies looking like a cool. I going in the stool, going cool in the stool. Hey, yeah, they gon' try to cut me out that tree like Rue. Hey, Katniss Everdeen with that aerial ace, feel like super speed. Yeah, I got aerial ace. Hey, don't play when we on this music thing. Hey, need a beat from Justino Cochino, Chino. From Justino Cochino, Chino. I'm over here with Danielson. Uh-oh, he pulling up the beateroonies. Uh-oh. Hey. Yo. Exclusive. Gino. Justino. Boss Dan. Dino. Justino. Yeah. 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 Hey. When, I do. What it do? Yo, plug me in, plug me up. We had to do them drugs just so get up. Feel stuck in that mug, that quicksand. I stink, I suck, go down. I can't get up. How can I get up? Oh yeah, we feel lost in the world, lost in this world. How gon' get changed up the world? Everything that's going on just don't make no sense. So I gotta get up every day just so I can make couple cents, couple dollars. Gotta put them in my pocket. How you rockin'? Too. Gotta get some more so I can go shopping. I'm just having fun on this. I ain't even got a flow. It's all over the place, yeah. All over the place, yeah. I'm just living life. Ayy. I ain't tryna give too much, cause what I got coming is gonna be too hot. I'ma sizzle that whole time. They was like, damn, how we going so more time? Yeah, I'm gonna spread it around roll time. Ayy, yeah, this is like roll time, Bama. They don't understand how I ain't no scammer. I'ma live life, yeah. Shorty, she tryna nail me down with the hammer. Oh, I got that hammer for her. She could see that I gon' change up the world. I'm living this life, I'm living it up. Now I'm just switching it up. Ayy. If I'm bored with these bars and I cook my beat couple times, they was like, damn man, can I get a beat? No, that ain't free, no, my God. Hey, yeah, I feel fly like a catfish. Ain't no catfish, all these catfish all around. You can't trust what's on that internet. I need that incense, I need that sage. I need something for the new age.
Thank you for tuning in, folks.
Thank you for tuning
Till next
in.
week.
This was fun.
Hey.
Thank you all for tuning in. As always, we appreciate you all. We'll see y'all next week
Whoa.
with a new NBA champion crowned.
Crown the NBA champion. Crown.
Hope you all stay safe out there and continue
Stay safe.
to wear your masks and
Vote.
such and vote.
Vote.
Please register to vote if you haven't yet. Very
Go to
important.
the polls.
Till next time, everybody.
Justino.